Hey everyone, and welcome to our 7th breakdown of the Ahsoka series. This episode had some interesting parts, but its pacing was definitely way too slow, at least for this point in the show. But anyway, be aware that this will contain spoilers. Alright, let's get into it. In the beginning of the episode, we're brought to Coruscant, where the Senate Oversight Committee conducts a meeting to determine how they should proceed forward with General Syndulla's case. As we know, she used the New Republic's pilots and resources on her mission to Cetos without having the evidence to justify it, so the New Republic isn't very happy about that. Senator Ziono hasn't changed much since the last time we've seen him. He's still as annoying and blatantly accuses Hera of disobeying direct orders. Chancellor Mon Mothma defends Hera and states that there is indeed evidence of at least what seems to be an incident that took place on Cetos, but Ziono doesn't really want to believe Hera's report, thinking that there's no proof of coordination between the scattered number of Imperial remnant forces. Carson Teva intervenes and brings up the conflict on Mandalore, where, as we know from the Mandalorian show, Moff Gideon's Imperial faction was present. Now, you would think that Teva has a good point, but Ziono seems to be impossible to reason with, and says that Moff Gideon was a warlord acting on his own. Now, I guess you could say that they were not aware of the Shadow Council, but still, Ziono is a prick no matter how you put it. He continues to accuse Hera of abusing her authority for personal gain, and by the way, I'm not sure what she'd gain out of this, and then asks to have General Syndulla be court-martialed. However, the legend himself, C-3PO, comes in with a transcript from Senator Leia Organa herself. The transcript shows that Leia personally sanctioned Hera's mission to Cetos, and was not aware that Senator Ziono voted against it without her. She is, however, willing to overlook this misstep, but Ziono will need to discuss his actions with her from now on. So nice to see that Leia is still fighting the good fight. Once the meeting is over, Mon Mothma asks Hera whether Thrawn's return remains a possibility, to which Hera replies that they should prepare for the worst. We're back on Ahsoka's ship and we can see her training with a recording of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin mentions General Grievous, Asajj Ventress and Count Dooku, and there's something amazing and almost surreal about Hayden in his Clone Wars outfit saying those names in live action. Ahsoka mentions to Huyang that Anakin made 20 of those lesson recordings, with that one being his last one. They then get to the pilot cabin of the ship preparing to exit hyperspace. Once they do, they hear explosions from the outside. Turns out that the Purrgil flew into an Imperial minefield. Ahsoka flies out of the Purrgil and is then attacked by a few fighters. Enoch announces Thrawn about Ahsoka's arrival, and Morgan Elizabeth gives Thrawn all the info that she gathered about Ahsoka Tano. In my previous episode, I was looking forward to see Thrawn's face when he finds out that Anakin was Ahsoka's master. And well, here it is. Totally worth the wait. Thrawn believes that Ahsoka could potentially be unpredictable and dangerous, just like her master, and orders Enoch to withdraw the fighters. This is where his military genius really shines, as he plans to make Ahsoka voluntarily take the route he lays out in front of her, so that he'll always be a step ahead of her, no matter what path she takes. We're then taken to the fields of Peridia, where we see Ezra and Sabine traveling along those little naughty creatures in their vehicles. Sabine seems to have caught up Ezra with everything that he's missed, the Empire's fall, Palpatine's death, etc. Ezra asks Sabine about how she managed to find him, and she says that it is complicated. At this point, I'm really curious about how she'll explain nullifying Ezra's sacrifice to find him, but for that we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, back on Ahsoka's ship, we can see that Ahsoka tries to find Sabine and communicate with her through the Force, and she succeeds. But then the Great Mothers of the Night Sisters manage to find her ship hiding in the debris of Peridia, and the Eye of Sion blasts Ahsoka out of hiding, forcing her to enter the planet's atmosphere. Then we see that Ezra and Sabine come across Baylan and Shin, who are on two of these wolf horse creatures, one of them being black and the other being white, potentially symbolizing the Norse wolves, Skull and Hati. Weirdly enough, Baylan asks Shin to kill Ezra and Sabine by herself, and take her place in Thrawn's empire afterwards, because Baylan has some plans of his own. We still don't know exactly what he's looking after, but if you've seen my previous video, it could be Abeloth, the Zephos, or perhaps something completely different. However, we at least now know that he must go and find this thing on his own, so that contradicts the theory about Shin being a potential vessel for Abeloth. Shin and the bandits start chasing and then surrounding Sabine and Ezra, forcing them to come out of their vehicles. Ahsoka asks Huyang to draw the fighters away, and then she gets off her ship, landing right in front of Baylan. Baylan is surprised to see her being alive and well after their previous encounter, as he draws out his lightsaber. He walks to Ahsoka and they start dueling again. We're then back with Ezra and Sabine, and we can see them fighting the bandits. Ezra is using the Force, but only for short periods of time. Perhaps he hasn't trained in a while, or maybe it's just a preference for the situation. They manage to take out the bandits, and then they encounter Shin, who is backed up by a group of night troopers that were sent by Thrawn. Ahsoka manages to get the upper hand in her duel with Baylan, and then Huyang flies above both of them. He fires at Baylan and gives Ahsoka just enough time to take his horse dog and go help Ezra and Sabine. Baylan looks at her riding away and then he just leaves. And we still don't know where to, but I guess we'll find out in the next episode. Thrawn notices that Baylan left and is now doubting his loyalty. Ahsoka manages to get to Ezra and Sabine right when they get surrounded by the night troopers. She takes out most of them and then Thrawn calls off his troops in aerial pursuit, because the cargo has been almost loaded completely, so there's no point in wasting more time. Shin is left there by herself and Ahsoka extends her hand to her, saying that she can be helped. Shin appears to consider it for a couple of seconds and then runs off. Huyang lands next to them and they're all happy to see each other, and that's where the episode ends. I am still a bit salty about the fact that we haven't seen where Baylan went or what he's up to, but I guess they're saving that for the last episode. I wouldn't say that this episode was boring, however it feels like it was very slow paced, almost feeling like an episode of Andor. However, let me know in the comments what you guys have thought of it. As always, may the Force be with you, and bye bye.